Okay, so today we're going to be talking about shields and why people even use shields in this game specifically. So shields can be useful, however they're not good from like heavier targets like bosses and certain types that don't use guns. These things can only block bullets. If an enemy decides to walk through it, it will go through. You are exposed from the top if you are at a certain height in your body. If you are smaller, you will not get hit. Some players design their characters to be small specifically for that purpose. However, in this little video, you're going to see I'm bigger than the shield itself. So, there's multiple uses for it. There's a humanoid round, and those are extremely dangerous rounds where you can get killed. It's great to have shields, especially if your teammates use them and they understand how they work and what you can do to barricade yourself as a group. One shield's fine, but having 3 or 4 is way better than 1. So for example, if I had a team before, I would make them all pop their shields on the ground. Then I would make them all put stun mines beside the shields behind it where you're at. That way if an enemy starts to approach the shield, they'll immediately get hit by a stun mine. And if you guys are weaker, put your shields closer and make sure that all stun mines are closer. So if it's a huge target, it's more likely to get stunned than a smaller target. Keep in mind, when it comes to explosive devices from enemies, you do not want to be really close to the shield, from your shield to receive explosion impact. If these things get hit by explosions, specifically from small infantry, it will never go through until the shield disappears. These things are literally invincible. They cannot be shot at and be destroyed. If you're shooting at another player, they can't shoot you through the shield. Great thing about the shield is you can shoot through it at your enemy. It is hard to see through it, but people don't realize you need to get closer to the shield if you want to see through it, and crouch and then focus. If you're farther away from your shield, the more you can't see through the shield. You have to get closer. So another thing, keep in mind, it can also be used to revive your teammates by popping your shield and going to them. When people drop on the floor, they're exposed to the elements of the enemy, especially during humanoids. You want to make a shield barricade. If you have enough people like 2, you can just use 2 alone to make a full barricade. It will be pretty small, but you can use it. Just 1 on the front, 1 in the back. Another thing you can use it for as well is kind of like a defense against the heavier guys inside the 275 rounds. And the ruins, recycling I forgot the name of it. It's like called the Guardians of the Ruins. Yeah, that's the name of it. If you get into the bridge part is pretty difficult if you don't have the build. There's already 2 kind of like barricades already as it is. That's a good thing. The same tactic with the shields is extremely useful in there. You need to put one right by the front entrance where there's not a barricade. You can make 2 of them, and that will block the whole entire path of the bridge. And then you can put down stun mines. If the big ones get too close, the stun mines of your group would stun them, and then you automatically lose. You take off auto lock because you don't want that because you're not going to aim at a skull. You lose free aim, and then you pop them in the head. So keep that in mind. Shields are useful. However, they cannot resist certain types of attacks. If a person with a melee weapon, like an enemy or a monster, decides to hit the shield, it'll just go right through and hit you. It can only block between light bullets and light explosives. And what I mean by light bullets and light explosives, I mean something massive, like say if you're fighting the behemoth tank, there's no way that's going to block the bullets. It's going to go right through that shield and it's going to get you. Massive missiles, it's going to go through and get you. Laser beams, they're going to get you. The only thing it's going to block is smaller troops. So keep that in mind. And this is just a technical video of what the shield does.